Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dynamo Thoughts. We're here to continue where we left off last time. We exported a spreadsheet of 3 parameters of all of the rooms in our advanced Revit project. Is that what we're calling this? Advanced sample file.
Yep.
We ended up with this excellent Excel spreadsheet of each room's name, number, and the department field isn't filled out in Revit. And so today's episode, we're going to go ahead and fill in all that information about these rooms, and then we're going to load it back into Revit using Dynamo to automatically populate those parameters. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right. What we're primarily going to focus on in Revit, I'm going to close up that 3D view because we're pretty much working with a table, right? We're working with a room schedule. This is how we're looking at all of our room information for the time being. So we also set up in the last Dynamo Thoughts episode, if you want to follow through exactly how to set up this room schedule, you can go ahead and do that. So we're going to be referencing this 3-column room schedule in Revit for a little bit. So let's see. So Bill, since we last spoke, you went ahead and I'm not sure how long it took you to fill in the departments of all of these.
It took me hours. Hours, I say hours.
I appreciate the effort on this.
Yeah, I did like 4 different ones. I guess it really did. I didn't really get into it, but hey, I got it done. That's all that matters.
That's okay. You have to start somewhere. That's one of my favorite things about Revit too, is that once you do it once, it's actually a whole lot easier to go in and customize than if we were to have done this in super slow AutoCAD or something like that.
Right. So my motto is if you can't do it half-assed, don't do it at all.
Okay, so you did it half-assed, and now we're gonna automatically bring it into Revit so that we can update it again at a later time directly inside Revit.
So we can chill out our good work and get some red lines.
Sounds good to me. All right, cool. So so all I did was hit Control-Z on my my Excel file before I turned the recording on. I just deleted your hard work, but now it's back. It's here.
Back.
So I'm going to go ahead and save it before we lose it again. So now, as everyone on YouTube can see, we have all 3 parameters filled out in Excel. We've got our room numbers, our room names, and now our brand new department information for each room, which does not yet exist in Revit.
Okay.
So enter Dynamo. I'm going to fire up Dynamo under the Manage tab because I'm in Revit 2017. And even though we already have an Excel export script written for Dynamo, we're going to start totally fresh today. We're going to start from scratch because we use a slightly different series of nodes in order to get there.
Okay.
So I'm going to hit the new graph button.
Look at that graph. Whew.
Brand new.
That's something.
So let's see. Like I said, most of the graph is going to be completely from scratch, but I think it is probably a good place to start by gathering all of our room objects. So let's pull those back in. Those are just 3 nodes, if you remember from last time. We're going to grab all of the elements of the room category. So we can find that under the Revit section of our node library, Revit selection. We're going to grab all of the elements of a category. And of course, we need to tell Dynamo which Revit category we're interested in working with. So we're going to use the categories node for that. And I'm going to scroll down to rooms. And we'll plug in all elements of the room category, and I'm going to drop in a watch node. So this is review from last time, right? So here's our list of rooms. Terrific. And you know what? Let's also pull in our room numbers.
Okay.
So if you remember from last time, the node that we use for that is under Revit Elements element. We're going to pull in our get parameter value by name, just to make sure that we're pointing to the right thing. So we want to pull in all of our room elements, and we'll search for let's do the number parameter. So we're going to ask all of these rooms, what is their room number? So here we go. We've got rooms 101, 102, all the way down. And if you remember from last time, we're working with 91 rooms in the entire project. So that was a lot of rooms for you to go through and, and fill in information about in Excel.
Sure was.
So we have our room numbers. We're all set to go. We've got our rooms on the canvas. We have our room numbers on the canvas. Now this is the part where things get a little bit tricky. I'm going to go side by side, Excel and Dynamo for a second. If you remember from last time, what we kind of exported out was, let me take a step back. You'll notice here that our room numbers, 101, 102, then it jumps up to 121, then a little further down it jumps down to 110, 109, all this kind of thing. So our Dynamo is sorting all of these rooms probably by their element ID number. So we're actually probably seeing this list of rooms in order that they were created in the first place in Revit. That's my hunch. I'm sure the Revit developers could weigh in on that. And it's very possible that somewhere along the line, in fact, I'd say it's likely that if you as the person who exported this Excel file and then put it in the hands of a different member of your design team, I wouldn't be surprised if we shouldn't trust that these two lists maybe have changed order slightly, right? It's very possible that someone would just reorder, so we start with room 101 and go all the way up to the last room number. So what the reason I'm talking about the order of these two lists here is what we're going to do is we're going to pull this list information back in from Excel, and what we're going to need to do is make sure that the order of our list of rooms is exactly the same as the order of our list of Excel data. Because again, there's not a direct live link between a line in Excel and a room item in Dynamo. So that's going to be part of the complexity of this graph. It's not too complex, but that's going to be kind of a part of what factors in here. Does that make sense?
Yep. Absolutely.
So what I think we should do, rather than assuming that all of these numbers are sorted properly, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort your Excel file which I think is under Data, Sort, and we'll sort by number. So now we know for a fact we have the lowest number ascending to the highest room number, and all of our data is sorted here. Let's do the same thing in Dynamo so that we can be certain that each item is aligned properly. The first item in Excel corresponds to the first room item, and so on and so forth. So what we really want to do is we want to reorder this list of rooms according to the room number. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So we have all our data that we're going to need. We have our rooms, we have our list of numbers. What we want to do here is we want to use a node called sort by function. So I'm going to do a search for this sort by function. And this node takes two inputs. It takes the list of things that we're going to reorder. So in this case, we're going to reorder our list of rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in as our list, and the second input is a function. So it's basically saying what is, I mean, each one of these nodes kind of serves as its own function, right? Each node performs a function. So it's actually asking here for an action. Which node would you like to kind of plug in and run, and whatever the values are that come out, we're going to use that as a way of reordering this input list. So what we really want to do is we basically want Dynamo to run this function, get the room number, and then whatever the input is of this list, we want to reorder it according to however we'd reorder these guys. So the way that I usually describe this is we need to have one blank input in order to kind of tell Dynamo which way is the data going to flow. So think about it for a second. What we've currently set up is we took all of these room objects, we plugged it in to run this function. What we want Dynamo to do is look at the same data, but according to this list, reorder it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to unplug it. So we have a blank here, and I'm going to plug the output of the get parameter by name into the input of function. And now let's see what happened here. I'm actually going to do this for a second. I'm also going to illustrate what just happened in the background. We're going to ask this new list of room numbers what just took place. So we can see a couple of things. First of all, item 0 here is the same, right? 177056, 304, Here we go. So now we're starting to see something a little bit different. We see 305 has now been pushed to who knows where. It's somewhere else in this list, and room 334, or element ID number 334, has taken its place. So we do know that between this list of rooms and this list of rooms, we did reorganize. And if we ask this list of rooms, what are your numbers, you can see we actually now have something that matches Excel, right? 1, 2, 3. And it ascends all the way up. So we can be certain, here we go, 101, 102, 103 versus 101, 2, 3, all the way down.
Okay.
So we can be confident that what Dynamo has done is it ran the function, which is this guy. It asked each one of these rooms. The reason we need to leave this blank input is because when you're defining a function, you're basically telling Dynamo, we're going to take this list of things and we're going to run it through your function. So you need to leave an empty input as a way of identifying where should this connection go.
Right.
Instead of
because without a element list, that see at the bottom, if we look at the watch on that element get parameter by name, value by name, it now says function.
Exactly.
But when we plug the element in, it's no longer a function, it's something.
You're right. Okay. So as long as this node doesn't have all of its inputs, it's not totally useless. It's just acting as a function in the meantime.
Right.
So that's one of the kind of convoluted ways where I know that we've been talking about how in Dynamo data flows from left to right. Sometimes there are some specific cases, and this is one of them, where it seems like data flows backwards. And it's usually when you're building a function like this. You want to leave one empty input so that whatever items you're acting on, kind of imagine like a ghost wire that goes in here so that this sort function could take place.
Okay.
All right, so what we really have here is we've now sorted all of our rooms by room number. So that's, if you didn't quite follow exactly what happened, that's okay. That's the step that just happened. We've reordered our rooms according to their room number in Revit.
Okay.
So now that we have this this list that we're confident is sorted in the same way that Excel is, let's go ahead and bring in our Excel information. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure, since I did just make a change in Excel, I've reordered the data here. I'm going to save this spreadsheet, and we'll come back to Excel in a minute. Now we're ready to go and bring in our Excel data. So I'm going to do that kind of over here in a blank space on the canvas.
Okay.
If you remember from last time when we did a search for Excel, we ended up with these two nodes. There's read from file and write to file. Last time we used write to file, but this time we're going to read an Excel file and import the data. And this is taking, I think, oh no, this is one slightly different input. So we are going to see the familiar file path and the sheet name that we want to read. So let's go ahead and plug those in now. I'm going to search for file path. If you prefer to define a string, just kind of like the file path as a string object, that's an option too, but I always enjoy browsing through and being confident that my file path is right.
Yep.
So we brought in a file path, but if you remember from last time, this is, well, let's see, I'm gonna plug this in and we're gonna see a yellow node down the line. Experienced viewers will remember why. And then the code block that I'm going to drop in to define the sheet name, this is basically just what's the name of the worksheet that we're working in. So in our case, this is sheet 1. I'm going to double click to define a code block. Call this
sorry, Paul.
Sorry, Paul, that's right. Sorry, Paul node block, code block. We'll plug in sheet name, and okay, so we didn't fill in read as strings yet, just to kind of explain what this is about. If you're pulling in number information, so in the case of, actually our numbers here, you get to specify, is this a string or is this a number? If you wanted to add some of these columns together, you probably want read as strings to be false. You want these to act as numbers so you could interact with them. In our case, it's okay if these come in as strings, and the default value, if we hover over that input, is false. So
so we need to set that to true. then?
Yeah, I guess we do. So I'm going to kind of extend our code block one more line. Code blocks don't just need to be used to define strings. You can also define Boolean values. So if we type the word true, you can see it turns purple and it suggests, oh, you probably mean this this true Boolean value. So I'm going to add that to the code block and save a node. And I plug it in, and again, we're still seeing the same yellow node. And the reason being, do you want to try to interpret that error message?
One or more of the input types are not matching, could not find the version read from file that takes an argument of string Boolean.
Yeah, that's
that's a great one, isn't it?
It's a great one, and this is a common error message. You're not just going to see this when you're plugging in the Excel node. This basically means it's getting a data type somewhere along the line that it didn't expect.
Oh, okay.
And here, string Boolean is telling you the data types that it's receiving. If I hover over file, this is asking for a var. That doesn't really answer our question. Basically, the file path almost always needs to be paired with a node called file from path, which kind of says, okay, you have a file path. Now we're going to turn that file path, which is a string, into an actual file object. So here you can see this is a file object coming out. Here it's receiving a string that it didn't expect.
Oh, okay. Because the file path is just returning a string, it's not returning a file.
Exactly. Right. Right. So this file from path is smart enough to open up whatever file is at this file path location and get data out of it.
Okay.
So that's what we were missing here, and that's an important step in the Excel read from file node because you likely will come up against this anytime you're trying to.
So that error saying string Boolean means that the first one was a string, the second one was a string. So file was string, sheet name was string, and Rita's Boolean was Boolean. So string Boolean. So those three inputs are those string Boolean. And then so it's up to us to figure out if that first one needs to be a string or something different.
That's right. That's right. The error message reports what you're providing, but the reason the error is there is kind of to tell you one of these isn't the right data type.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So now that we do have the correct data type, we can pull in all of our Excel information. So you can see we have our header row, and then each one of these nested lists contains one row of information in Excel. So room number 106 is called instruction, and you've given it the department classroom. So what we can do from here, what we ultimately need to do, let's do this. So when I'm kind of setting out a Dynamo script, I like to start on the left-hand side and figure out what information do I need to begin with. What I also like to think about is what do we need to end up with. What we need to end up with on the right-hand side is a Revit. We're going to go back to our elements. We're going to be setting Revit parameters. Right? We're going to be taking the data that we got from Excel, and we're going to be resetting all of these room number, we're going to be resetting for all of these Revit room objects. We're going to be rewriting the department parameter name with the values we get from Excel. So ultimately, we're going to end up with this node, element set parameter by name. So I like to put that on the canvas just to kind of keep it in mind while we're restructuring all of our information. So we have all the information we need now. The last few steps are going to be kind of aligning things the right way.
Okay. So scoot over to that new node you just put in again. Let me look at that. So let me see if I can talk through this. And for the viewers out there, I haven't gone through this with Ian yet because we don't have time. And we're doing this, half-ass. So the element to me, so zoom out a little bit. I want to make sure I get this. So the element is going to be from the sort by function var. And then
that's right.
The parameter name is going to be from the sorry Paul number. And then the value would be from the data of Excel. But I don't know if you can't use the data yet because we don't know which one on the list we want to use. So we need to clean up the data from Excel a little bit before we can plug it in. We got to
That's
tell
right.
it to
We're going to
use
need
the
to do.
department. Is that?
That's
Did I
right.
get that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
For yeah. So to be more specific, let me recap what you said, and we'll kind of reevaluate. So step one, you're 100% right that these rooms will be the elements that we reset parameters for. We also know that the parameters that we're about to reset is the department.
Oh, the department. So yeah.
The numbers have been helpful in helping us sort to make sure that all of our data is lined up properly. But ultimately, we want to take from Excel, we want to take this department value for room, and so that's what we want to route
so
into our value.
Sorry, Paul, called department.
That's right.
Okay.
Department. And we would make sure that that exactly matches, where's Revit? We would make sure that that exactly matches the name of the Revit parameter that we're trying to fill out.
And it's case sensitive as well.
Exactly. It is case sensitive, so that's something to be aware of. So we actually have 2/3 of this last step filled out. Now, what kind of gets complicated
so what we need to do is get that second part to be just a list of departments excluding the first one.
That's right. That's right. We would need a list of information. It would look a lot like this one, but instead of room numbers, it would be the room departments.
Right.
And once we have that list of department values, we can go ahead and plug them into our set parameter by name node.
Okay.
So there's just a little bit of data manipulation that needs to happen to this nested list in order to get just our list of departments. So that's the immediate challenge, is turn this into something that looks like this with departments. So let's talk through that. What we know for fact is this first this list at index 0, this is our header row. We don't want to work with this at all, right? Number, name, department, the words aren't useful to us.
Right.
So step one is probably going to be, let's just get rid of this information because it's useful to someone reading, but it's not useful to the machine that's churning through this operation for us. So let's get rid of that item first. Our second challenge is going to be only get index 2 of each of these sublists, right? That's what we really want to see. We don't care so much about the first or second item. We care about index 2 all the way down this list. So those are the two things that we need to accomplish before we can plug this into the set parameter node.
Okay. Good
news is the first step is super easy. The good news is the second step is actually pretty easy too, if you know the right node to use. Let's just focus on one thing at a time. The first thing that we need to do is remove the first item from this list.
Okay.
So kind of taking a shot in the dark here, I'm going to type the word remove. And we have here remove item at index. So this is a useful node specifically for list management. In fact, let's do this. Let's go to the list section, the core list section of the node library, and see if there's anything that's even closer to what we're looking for. So I'm going to core list, and these are all nodes that are specific to working with lists in Dynamo.
Oh, yeah, so remove item at beginning. Because I see an add item to end. See an add item to end. Maybe there's a delete. Item. Maybe there's a remove from beginning.
Let's see. We still have remove item at index. What we also have, if you were to look pretty closely, we have a node called rest of items, which removes the first item from the given list.
Oh, boy, that's a good name for it.
This is exactly what we're looking for. Yeah. I mean, remove first item and rest of items are, I guess they're the same thing. They're just two different ways of describing the same thing. This actually goes really nicely. Sometimes you want to keep the first item, so I find myself a lot of times dropping two nodes onto the canvas. There's first item. I'll drop on the first item, and I'll just get the first thing, and then rest of items because I'll want it separately. So here you can see here's just our header row. So if you did want to just have this on the canvas just in case, maybe you're working with more than just 3 columns and you want a good kind of reference for what's the header of each of these columns, you can always come back to this node. But this is the data that we're really looking for. We're looking for all of our all the rest of those items.
Right. We want the rest of them.
We want the rest of them. First one can hang out here. Maybe we'll come back to it,
Okay.
but maybe we won't. Most likely we
So
won't.
now we only want index 2.
That's right. So
So is that in the same spot?
Yeah, so we are continuing to work with lists. So we can find a node here or a couple nodes that would work for us. And there are, I should mention as a disclaimer, there are a couple different ways that you can extract the second item of each of these nested lists. I'm going to suggest that we use a node that that we actually used in the last episode, which is transpose. This is the same as flip matrix in Excel for all of you Excel experts out there. So list transpose takes our 90 or 91 lists of 3 items each, and it turns it into 3 lists of 91 items each. And in our case, it groups all of the kind of common data types together, right? So it's just taking the first item in our list. Let's scroll up to the top. The first list of 91 items is just taking index 0 of each list. We collapse that. Index 1 of each list.
Right.
And here's what we really want is index 2 of each list. So here is the work that you did in Excel, right here.
Looks great.
Now our next and final step is to extract just the second index 2 of this list. And if we were to look at our node library,
let's see. Okay.
Again, there are several ways that we could go about this. By chance, this happens to be the last item in the list, so we could use our last item node. If we wanted to pull somewhere from the middle of the list, you can say get item at index and then specify the number 2 as the index. Let's just do it with one node. I'm feeling lazy today, so let's just drop in our list last item, and there we go. So that did the trick for us. This is here's all of your Excel work.
Wow, look at that.
All of the departments in that are coming from Excel, and to kind of go back a little bit to remind ourselves, since we sorted all of our room objects by the room number, which is also what we did in Excel, we can be confident that all of the items here, circulation classroom, matches what happened in Excel, because the same sort function happened in both places. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Excellent. So now it's time for our moment of truth.
Here we go.
Unfortunately, you're leaving like architect or engineer territory, and you're entering programmer territory. So
entering guru status.
That's right. Comes at a cost.
It does.
So we're ready. Here's our moment of truth. We're going to plug in our data values into our value input, and if everything worked out the way that we hope, we should see all of these department parameters fill in.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Fingers crossed.
Look at that.
All right.
Yes.
Terrific.
Terrific. That is great.
So to be super sure, I'm also going to well, not so much to be super sure, but I'm also going to pull up one of the floor plans here. Here's the plan of the entire building, and of course, since we're working with a Revit schedule that's reporting room objects, we should see departments. Which terrific! So the department field was empty at the end of the last episode, but now we have departments filled out.
That's great. All right, I'm ready
to give it a try.
I'm ready. Here we go. So I need to get into the Dynamos. Oh, I'm already in Dynamo. And there's Dynamo. There's our last grid, because I needed that to create the grid this morning. Look at that.
I'll tell you what, rather than close it, if you'd like, we can delete all of the nodes that aren't relevant. There is a little bit of information we used here.
I would like to go through my notes.
Okay.
Because
let's start fresh.
Yeah, I'm going to get confused if we don't. I could do that if I had a picture of your graph. That would make sense to me. But since I wrote it down, I'm going to have to do that. So I'm going to close that and say, no, I don't want to save it. And I'll do a new graph. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we need to get the elements of a category, right? So that would be under Revit and selection. oops, selection, and we need to scoot this out a little bit, and we need all elements of a category, and we need a category as well. Categories, is it categories? Yeah.
Categories.
Categories. All right, and these are rooms. I hit R to make it go down to R. Rooms, not roofs. There's a lot of R's. All right, and there's that. Okay, so now I've got my rooms. Must have double-clicked there. And I need a watch to figure out what the heck I'm doing there. Is there a fast way to bring up a watch?
I usually right-click exactly like you did, and then I type WA.
All right.
So I search for the watch.
For watch. All right. And
if any viewers out there know of a faster way to drop watch nodes onto the canvas, let us know.
Let us know. Yes, we want to know how to put on a watch really fast, like with Velcro. All right, and then elements get, what am I doing? I have my watch. My elements, oh, I need to get my elements of, get parameter name. So I need to, family, no, that's not it. I need to do, is it here? No, it's somewhere else. It's under select, isn't it? Get parameter.
So here's one of the tricky things about parameters. Parameters are used very heavily in geometry as well as just Revit parameters. So that's okay. I think if you delete the space, get parameter is all.
Oh, there we go.
Are. That's the one.
Get rid of the space. So my elements are these. My parameter name is number. Semicolon.
That's right. If you forgot the semicolon, Dynamo would fill it in for you.
Right. All right. So there's all my numbers. Now I need to sort this so that it's in order. So I need to data sort. I need to sort by function.
That's right.
And sort by function. There it is. And there, this is my list. And I want to sort it by function. Okay, this is where we need to remove this guy to make that a function. Oh, so that's my function, and this is my list.
There we go, exactly.
Right. Oops. All right. So there's all my rooms. And then from there, if I want to
stop you just for a second to kind of put that sort by function node and kind of how it's different from just sorting into perspective. See on your left-hand side where you did your search for sort, there is another node here called just sort.
Okay.
And it sorts a list of information just based on whatever is there.
Okay.
If you were to plug in a list of, well, actually, I'm not really sure what would happen if you plugged in a list of Revit room objects
Let's find out.
And asked it to sort. It might sort by element ID. It might say, I don't know how to do that. You can't sort rooms. There are too many different things that you could sort by. This is basically, if you gave it a list of random numbers, it would sort them automatically from least to greatest. Or if you gave it a list of strings, it would sort them automatically by alphabetical
it's not.
order.
It's sorting them by, it doesn't know how to, it just sorts it by however it wants to sort it, is what it's doing, right? Yeah,
and
see,
I'm sure there's
this one gives us
expert somewhere that could answer that question, but
right, it's sorting by something, and I'm sure somebody knows. And this one allows us to sort by something. This allows us to, so this is good if we have a list that is just one thing in the list. So like towards the end of this graph where we just have the names or just the departments, this one would probably work. But since our list, this list is elements and not just strings, we need to use this one because these have categories and things in them. Okay.
Right. What you're doing is you're sort by function allows you to say, okay, I'm gonna sort one list according to the properties of another list. That's what you're
Okay.
doing. The element get parameter value by name, that reports a list of numbers. If you just sorted that list of numbers, your rooms don't know to follow suit.
Okay.
Remember, like when we sort in
Right.
Excel, we grab all of our columns and we say sort by this column, and all of the other columns come with whatever that first column is. Sort by function is working the same way. It's taking the data that it doesn't know how to sort, and it's reordering it according to whatever function you're saying to look up.
Right.
To put it another way. All right, we can move forward if you don't have any questions.
No, I think if we move forward, if we don't move forward and keep explaining it, we're going to confuse people. All right, so we sorted our rooms, and we now need to unplug the element. We did that. We got it. We're in good shape there. We need to copy the get parameter. Okay. Oh, we need to get the Excel stuff. Let's just get that, and then we'll figure it out what to do.
That's right.
All right, so we need the Excel, and that was easy. We want to read from a file, and it's a file. So if we get a path, file path, how about file from path? Would that have worked better?
File from path is going to convert your file path into the readable file. That's the second node in that. Oh,
that's the second node. So we do need that.
Yep.
And we need a file path. We want to browse. Hey, look at that. And we want that one. And there, and there's my file. The name I want to get is department. Sheet name is sheet 1. And I need to load that file because I don't know if it's capital or lowercase. It's capital, but since I'm here, I'm going to sort this. And that's data sort. Sort.
There's sort.
By number. Okay. All right. And I could just delete this and not worry about removing the first, but removing the first was so easy, I'm not going to worry about it. And because then I'd have to remember to remove it all the time. So sheet 1.
You'd have to remember to remove it. If anyone other than you opens up the Excel file, they're going to ask, what do these columns mean?
Yeah. It's chaos, I say, chaos. Anarchy. All right, so there's that.
Answer questions.
That's right. Who wants to answer questions?
Well, maybe this script is going to save us so much time that we will have time to answer questions. So I don't know.
Maybe we could spell true right as well once we get the script done. And that read a string. Okay, good. So I'm not yellow because I put this in. And now I've got some data. Let's see what I've got. I've got that, which is, I guess I could have just clicked this. You're like, come on, just click the bottom thing. Don't use that watch note all the time. You're saying to yourself. All right, so there's that. And now I just need to transpose my list so that it's a list of lists instead of a list of, it's a list of columns instead of a list of rows, right?
Yeah. It'll group your data together by column instead of grouping by row like what it's doing now. Right.
So there's that. Show me the... All right, there's the ball. And then, I needed to get rid of the first one first before I transposed it, right?
We can, if you wanted to just get the list of departments, you could use that same remove first.
Oh, that's right.
The rest of items. You can kind of get just the list of data you want to work with and then remove the first item.
Okay. Let's see.
It's up to you.
It's up to me. So let's remove at index. All right. Let's see. Remove the first item. No. Rest of items. First items. Okay, so we did it with the remove from there and then transposed and then get item at index. So let's try that. Let's do it backwards. Get item at index. And there's that. This is my list. My index is 2. Oops, is that a string or a number?
It's a number until you put it in quotes.
Oh, look at what I did there. I put
Quotes
the
in a
list on.
code block are how you tell
Right.
Dynamo that you're setting a string.
All right, there's my list. Now I need to remove the rest or keep the
Mm-hmm.
rest. Remember rest. Rest of items. Boy, that's a weird name. That must have been one of the original ones when one guy was doing it. Not there's anything wrong with that. All right, circulation. All right, so there's all of that.
Like I said, it makes sense in the context of first of items, rest of items. But I guess remove first. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
that's a one-man decision. Set parameter.
You might be the first person to challenge this decision. First person I've heard of that wants to
No,
challenge
I'm the first
rest of
person that wants to challenge it out loud. All right, so my elements. I need elements, and those elements are here. Those are my rooms because they're sorted correctly. My parameter name is going to be the department. And now when I do this, it's going to do it. So I need to either go to manual or just go with it and then look. So I'm going to go with it and then look. Chung. And now I should be able to go to the Revit. Here, I'll minimize that.
Suspense is killing me.
No, it's not. It's not killing you. And we'll go to room error. No, where was that? That was the room. We didn't have that schedule, did we?
Oh, so yeah, we created our own schedule specifically for
we did, didn't we? All right, we're going to do this instead. And cafeteria. And see, I need to scroll down to see it. So I'm trying to get the suspense even more. And there it is. The department is food service.
All right.
That I did it all by myself with your help.
Terrific. Doesn't it feel nice, though, to be able to just hit a button and know that information's moving around exactly?
Well, I hit a few buttons, actually.
There are a few buttons, you're right. But the advantage here is that this script can now live with this project, and as things change and develop, you can re-export your Excel file and make your updates, re-import.
The only thing in this script that needs to change is the file path. This is really the only thing you have to change to make this work in another project. If your projects are standard, where the department is called department. That's right.
That's right. Your departments would need to be called department. Your Excel spreadsheets should be organized. Well, actually, our Excel spreadsheet is coming from Dynamo. So since part one of this script sets the rules for what the columns are named, then you're right. You're right. You should only need to change the file path to pick the right Excel file. You're right.
Correct. Wow. So here's a question, off topic a little bit. With the in Revit, how we have the Dynamo player, does the Dynamo player default to manual, or does it remember what you had it set to?
Dynamo player is only going to run when you hit play. So it is manual execution. So what that means, the only downside, or maybe not so much downside, but currently you don't have the opportunity to set any inputs or make any changes to the graph before you run.
We're good. Because you could hit this to run and this to edit. So this is your run, this is your manual.
Well, right, edit. Yeah, exactly. You're right. That's going to open up the Dynamo script so you could point to a new Excel file.
Oh, no.
So what that means is maybe you set up your project standard in a way that there's one live Excel file at any given time from Dynamo.
Right.
And you can...
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I went...
Is this
I went squirrel on you.
That's okay. That's okay.
It is running right there, so that's cool. All right, get to your point.
Yes. So what you're able to do here is if you did want to implement the Dynamo player in this type of a workflow, you can make sure that your entire team is aware that when you run Dynamo player for this script, it's looking at this exact Excel file. This is the name of the sheet. This is the location and the name of that file. Right. So if people were to work on it, either in the live Excel file, or maybe they know to make copies and keep a running log of how the project has changed. But if people know, okay, the Excel file meets the standards for the script and is in the right location, they should just be able to hit play and either export a new version of the Excel file or import all the data and write it to the department.
Right.
So you're right, this Dynamo player could certainly be a part of a workflow that looks like that.
Absolutely. And then with the file names, what I would do now is I would start the file names with edit first or something like that. I would start them with edit. I guess the sorting is different then. But I would have edit towards the front because when the Dynamo player started, it started like this. And you wouldn't necessarily see edit if you put it at the end.
Edit. Oh, so edit is your way of
knowing I need to hit. No, so that I know that, oh, this one is good to play. This one, if it had edit at the beginning, oh, I need to pencil this one. I need to edit it first.
I see.
Yeah.
Right. So you would come up with some sort of company standard so that you can use those quick codes and everybody on your team understands what they mean.
Right. Well, this is really cool. All
Excellent. Yeah, I agree.
I think we should take a break from working with room Excel objects and data. And the next time we do our Dynamo Thoughts, we should draw something.
Draw something.
And then we can come
back
in
AutoCAD
with data.
We could draw something in AutoCAD.
We could. We could draw something in SketchUp. Dynamo for SketchUp. No, I can't do Dynamo
for SketchUp.
No, that's.
Oh, so you want to do 3D? We're not talking about drafting. We're talking about.
Yeah, I want to draw something.
Lines on a view to be printed.
No, I want to. It's
modeling, drafting.
Some sort of 3D model-y thing inside of this building somewhere.
Okay.
So I have to figure out what we want to do. So put it in the comments, watchers. I was going to say listeners, but they're watchers, I guess. Dynamo thinkers. That's a good one. Dynamo thinkers. Put it in the comments what you'd like us to draw in this here model, and we will figure out how to draw it, as long as it's not too complicated.
Maybe it is too complicated. Maybe there's one of my favorite things about learning how to script modeling and drawing like this is sometimes the things that look just mind-bendingly impossible to model, they look like they would take a tremendous amount of time to kind of write a code for, are sometimes the easiest things to code, and some of the simplest things that seem like they would be easy actually take a long time to code. So I don't know, don't hold back, Dynamo thinkers.
All right, I have an idea if the thinkers don't come up with something. But if the thinkers come up with something better than what I'm thinking of, we're going to use that.
All right, the challenge is presented.
All right, Ian. Thank you very much for thinking with me today about Dynamo. And
you're welcome.
We'll be back soon.